Good evening. Men today are facing something we don't talk about enough, shrinking friendships and silent suffering. Most men are struggling quietly, and too many feel alone. Tonight, we are cracking that open. If you are a man who's ever felt isolated, unheard, or unsupported, this episode is for you. Welcome to the men's loneliness pandemic, where so many mute themselves. Good evening. Welcome to the Vitor podcast. Tonight we are diving into three things that too many men live within silence: losing friends as we get older, the fear that opening up makes us weak, and the reality of male suicide, which, by the way, is the biggest killer of men under 50 in Ireland and in the UK. This conversation is not about shame, it's rather about honesty, connection, and saving lives. So if you are watching, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and share it. This might be the talk a man out there needs to hear this weekend. By the way, channel memberships and super chats are now live. And I'll explain how they work a bit later. But let's get into the conversation because there's plenty to go through. My dear guest is Jeroen. Jeroen, you are not another guest, you are guest number one. You are the vital piece of this platform. So you will never lose, that status. That status is yours for life. How was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, good. Busy and doing a lot of different things as always, but very enjoyable. Nothing like it, A couple of days of not working and doing whatever. It's fantastic.
Yeah. There's always this like a dopamine doses now from the weekend, like that we feel boosted. At least when I work, Monday, Friday, I felt that Saturday was an immense day. I felt there was no limits about it. I felt I could basically do anything I want. I know we all have constraints from the different directions, but I felt powerful. Especially, that's why if you sleep well on Friday night and wake up Saturday, you feel that whatever you want to do, you have free pass. And then Sunday, it slowly goes back to the old ways. So one needs to do a lot of effort, to manage their emotions on the weekend, because I think there's a huge contrast between one day and the other, and they are just separated by a night.
I agree with you totally. I kind of have that of Sunday, to be honest with you. I feel that Saturday is almost like, maybe a bit busy or whatever else, but Sunday is the day when you get to do the stuff that you want to do, and then you're like, it's Sunday and it's now back to Monday. You know what I mean? But like the weekends go fast; they are quick. But yeah, I always feel very kind of boosted on a Sunday. I'm always like, you can do this, whatever, and then suddenly it's Sunday evening, and then you're like, oh, crap, I have to get up in the morning.
Yeah. Talking of changes, like when we were preparing this podcast in person, let's not make a secret out of that. You mentioned one topic that I was truly fascinated about. Is how we get old and our circle of friends changes, and our mental problems also. The proportion also changes, and we don't have the right support about it. Would you like to expand like your view on this life transformation that sooner or later will occur to every single man?
Well, I got into a very interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago. I was on a bus going to a conference for work, and I got into a conversation with a colleague who I don't know, not based in our office, and we got into a real deep conversation. I mean, seriously deep, which was bananas because we'd never met before. Anyway, we came across a very interesting kind of thing, which really made me think. And he said, we're all getting older. All of us are getting older. That's just part of life. And as you get older, we get, our circle of friends decreases, right? So that's our circle of friends. Then that means that because the circle of friends is decreasing, that the circle of close friends is decreasing even more, right? And we both came up with, then that means that the circle of friends that you would actually discuss something with that's, like painful or difficult or whatever, is even smaller. Now, we as men already have issues with that. I mean, we don't open up in general, even to some of our closest friends. So if you think about it, as you get older and, through life, different scenarios, people move away, whatever it is, you start to lose contact with some of these people. And that the group is just getting smaller. And, there's no reason for that, but it just happens. And that means that if you are, with something that you find difficult to deal with, well, the group that you feel that you can trust and that you could open up to, that's really small. And some people wouldn't even open up to their closest friends. Even if their closest friends were close by, they would rather, and we are all guilty of it. We meet our friends. What are we going to talk about? The football match, the rugby yesterday, the political situation, the whatever. We find nearly a million things to talk about, apart from sometimes, how are you? Are you all right? Are you managing? And we as men, we find it incredibly difficult for many reasons to actually do that. We find it difficult to do it as a listener and as a speaker. And in a way, we've been trained to not have that or not do that. And any way that we can, we will avoid that conversation. And we're very good at it. And that means that we are now in a time when a lot of men are maybe dealing with issues, maybe, whatever, there could be, everybody has some issues in their life, but they have, could be dealing with issues, but they have literally nobody that they feel that they can open up to about it. And then they also have a double whammy of, that group of close friends that you can actually say to them, dude, I have a problem. That becomes minimal. And then you're less inclined to actually face up and say, I need some help here. I'm facing some issues, or I'm in trouble, or I'm whatever, right? And that's a huge problem. It's a really huge problem, and I think that it's becoming. I mean, we are getting a little better on it. We are turning a corner in terms of opening up about things, but we're turning a small corner. We haven't turned a big corner yet, where we can accept that when you have to open up about stuff, you have to be more open, and you have to be able to say to somebody, doesn't matter who it is, but to somebody, a friend, a colleague, a family member, whatever, you have to go, I'm in trouble here. I need some help. And I mean, sometimes it's the very act of saying I'm in trouble and admitting I'm in trouble that actually already helps. So making that first step and being able to say, well, look, I'm actually dealing with something here, right? Even the act of saying that already lessens the problem, or makes the problem appear a little more bearable. But not having that opportunity to do that is extremely tough. And we as men are very much not inclined to have that conversation. That's already a problem. And like I said, we will look for any and every excuse and every subject under the sun to avoid saying those words. I have a problem. I need help. I have an issue, whatever it is,
Yeah.
It's worrying. And as you get older, and we all know that men are even less communicative when they're older. Just, that's just part of the nature of things. So already a difficult situation is getting worse.
Yeah. I think it's like a taboo, and because we know that it's a situation that not very very common. Like we are extremely afraid of the consequences. because it's
Yeah.
not that usual that I'm going to open up. So I don't know how my mate is going to react. Maybe I can open up today, but that's the last time I'm going to meet him, and I'll be even more lonely than I am. So I better play safe, because the consequences can be even more catastrophic than my current situation. So I better stay in the current situation. Maybe I can deal with the problem, and when you realize it's too late. So there is this whole hesitances from, I don't know exactly what sort of reaction I'm going to get, because I know my friend, let's say, for 2, 3, 5 years, but we always, as I said, we always spoke about football, politics, music, but never about what's going on in our lives. So not everyone is prepared for this conversation, especially when they are new, because let's say we are used to that setup where the topics are ABC. What if I come with X? We don't know. Like, people are different if the topic is another one, and same as us. I was actually with a friend. It was like a couple of weeks ago here in Bray. I haven't met that friend for, I don't know, 3, 6 months, maybe 6 months. It's been a while, let's say. And so we had a good chemistry, like nothing happened. We're talking this and that, and mostly things that are going on the road, and also some travel. And I was shocked, not because of him, just because I know it's unusual between two guys, with a few exceptions in my circle of friends. All of a sudden, he asked me, "And what are things on a personal front?" So he couldn't be more direct. How do you feel about? Yeah, he was that precise. He asked, how do you feel about living now in your own apartment? How do you feel about having a long-term relationship? How do you feel about quitting your job and have a new chapter in your life? How do you handle all that? Not exactly the situations per se, but how I was relating myself, as a person, to these 3 different contexts. So I was like, wow, this is really, really shocking. Of course, we talk about this for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. They ask him back, how are things on your end? And we went back on all the topics that we are used to. But the fact that he put it on the table with every single word, that was refreshing. And that's a sign that he's a friend, because most people, or most guys, would think twice, because they will think, well, this was never a topic, so I don't know how he's going to react. And they better, stick to what were the themes, because they are not really ready to changes. Like, most people are very conservative to explore new avenues. But I think, like, between friends, like, there should be space for novelty.
I agree. There should be space for novelty, and there should always be space as well. I think the key is, and we as men, as both listening and also telling, you just said you were shocked, right? That somebody actually asked you, how are things on a personal level. We shouldn't be shocked. We should be more open. We should be more, and we should also, as a receiver of information, we've got to be more looking out for each other, and more able to ask exactly that question that your friend put to you, and more able to go, how are you doing? We'll say it constantly. How are you doing? How's things? But we don't get into the depths of it. You know what I mean? How are you doing? How are you? We have a difficulty doing that, but we have a difficulty receiving that information as well, because exactly like that, people get shocked. People are like, "Ooh, Jesus, that's a bit, ooh," But we need to be more. We need to look out for each other more, and we need to be there for our friends more. But we need to also be able to be open and to be able to say, well, things aren't that great, or whatever. Like, when is the last time that you actually said to somebody, "I'm not doing great today. Today is my day"? Think about it.
Well, to me, it was yesterday.
Okay,
but that was my girlfriend. That was my girlfriend. I actually felt a bit bad about it. I know it's not a man's conversation here, but maybe it's also worth exploring. I felt bad because it was Saturday. I don't know, she works Monday, Friday. So, and there was nothing really awful happening. Just I had a plan of spending the morning learning some tool that I think is going to be useful for my business going forward. And because I'm very much tech savvy, as we know, I just failed. I just failed, and I felt bad. I felt that okay, this is not what I was aiming for this morning, and I felt even some body language, some some stupid words, some vibes. They were returning, and they were not around for a good few months since I entered this new chapter. And I didn't really throw shit on her, but I was just open. Like this is not the Saturday I was expecting, but I would try to get back on track, and I did, But I would fully agree with you. Perhaps if let's say a friend would have rang me, one of my friends, male friends, would have rang me, let's say at lunchtime, and say, "How's it going on the weekend?" I would be way more economic, in my complaints. I would probably say, "Yeah, it's okay. I was just doing something here, didn't work out the way I wanted, but yourself, it's just the beginning of the weekend, so there are many other things I can get busy with," and that was it. I wouldn't say explore, how disappointed I was with the way that the weekend was happening, because it's a man, and I wonder why is that. I think one reason is like if we decide to open the book, we don't know what book are we going to get, from the other end, and maybe it's a book we are not interested to read. But I would also argue that if you want the other person to open, maybe the first step we should take is open ourselves.
100%. 100%. So, like you mentioned earlier on, it's a taboo, right? It's very much a taboo. And we as men, we have a misconception, and I will say it is a very big misconception. We have a misconception. And that misconception is if you admit that you're not okay, that you're not well, or you're dealing with something, or that stuff is going and it's heavy or whatever, you're weak. You're weak, and you are less of a man, or less of. It's absolute crap. It's absolute crap. I'm fully convinced that if you actually accept and you talk about something, if you accept one to yourself, there's an issue, right? This is a big step, right? When you admit something to yourself that you've got an issue, that's your first step. But I think really the people who are strong are the people who can actually say, and we're not just talking about men, but women are better at this than we are. That is 100% sure. But in this situation, men who actually say, I'm dealing with something, whatever that is, are, in my view, way stronger, way more actually strong than the person who says, I'm fine, everything's okay, And it's actually a real, to me, sign of strength when you can face it, open up about it, and talk about it and say, actually, I'm not that fine. And like you just said as well, sometimes it's about being open to one another and, to actually give somebody the time to say things aren't great, or to ask that direct question. But you have to be prepared that book mightn't be a book that you want to read. It might be heavy. There might be some heavy stuff going on. There might be some, whatever, sickness, an addiction, personal problem, you name it. There's so many things that a lot of us are facing. But in my world now, at 52 years old, I've realized that being open about stuff is actually a sign of somebody who's actually really strong, and who actually has accepted there's something going on here and I need help. And it's not a sign of weakness at all. In fact, it's the total opposite. And it's that taboo. We have to break that taboo. We have to actually just go out there And, with, let's say, our friends, or even in situations like colleagues or whatever in work, you need to be a bit more awake to how someone is, and not be afraid to go, "You okay, man? Everything all right there?" Like, it's just a question, and it might open something and I guarantee you, the person you're asking will really respect that, one, and two, like you, probably be shocked, in the beginning of it, fine, but actually will really, really appreciate that, because we don't do that. We have to always have this face of, I'm fine, I'm strong, I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm all of these things. Everything's fine. Everything is under control. I got this, right? We have a whole generation of information that's given to us where we have to always present that face. And that's not the way to deal with stuff.
No.
Dealing with stuff is the only way, is to deal with it and to accept it and to be open about it and say, I'm dealing with this,
At what age did you realize that, yes, you have less friends than you had in the past, and your problems were growing? Was there like an age period, like a range that you can define?
I guess it's something that I've been aware of for quite a while. I guess I've been, since I probably went into my 40s. I always remember that when I was sort of in my 20s and definitely my 30s, I seemed to have this endless circle of friends, absolutely humongous circle of friends. Then I got into my 30s, and, then I had another group of friends. There was just less of them, but when I got to my 40s, I started to realize that, there's, for whatever reason, there's now a whole lot less of the friends. And then the other realization, which is probably important, is that I realized that in my 30s, that some of those friends weren't really friends. Do you know what I mean? They were, I don't know, going out buddies. They were, I don't know, whatever, football buddies, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Were they really friends? Probably not, And then you start to realize, oh yeah, well, there's less of them. Now, luckily, I'm okay, and I'm not saying that kind of like, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine. But most of the time, I don't have too many issues that I need to talk about, and I've started to be much more open and to open up, because I really feel if I need to, one, to show somebody else how to do it, right, and two, I feel that when you talk about something, it lessens the problem. But to answer your question, I'd say it was probably in my early 40s when I started to realize that whole big group of friends was a lot less, Now it's really funny. I was looking through my phone the other day for someone's number, and I couldn't remember his name, and I was trying to, kind of scrolling through, kind of going,
yes.
What was the guy's name now, and do I still have a contact for him, because I need to run something by him. And I found him eventually, and I suddenly went, Jesus Christ, that's like 7 years ago that I've spoken to that guy. What the hell? Like, mad, absolutely mad. And that guy would have been, a close enough friend for a period of time. And I know, look, time changes, people move, people go to different countries, people, life takes over. I understand that. But I really have started to realize that, now into my 50s, that group of friends that I would really honestly open up with is small, and I guess I'm actually okay, because I do have, and I could, I know the friends that I could go to and go, dude, I need some help here, right? But there's people out there who don't, and who maybe never had those friends to start off with, or never knew how to approach those friends with what I'm talking about, which is, I'm in trouble here. I've got this, or I've got that, or I've got the other thing, But definitely, I really notice it now into my early 50s that there's just less and less and less of those friends, you know,
Mm.
um, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
it's reality, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I want to pick on, that you had those going out buddies. And it seems to me that it's not just you, me. Same happened to me, and probably with most men. We think of friends of people with whom we share good moments, which it's crucial. Like for you to have a relationship with someone, there must be good memories.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. It's like
Mhm.
a spouse or a girlfriend. It can only like the 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 CV must contain like fabulous moments. Whether it's a holiday here or a dinner or there, there must be things that you want to remember and be proud of. So it's
Mm.
same applies with friends. Say
Mhm.
you went to see that sports game, you went to that club and you had a hell of a time. You guys got on a car and you had a weekend away, and that was good.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with that, but we don't tend to remember like, yeah, I'm friends with that guy because I was going through a lot and he sat with me for 2 hours, and if it wasn't for his advice, I would probably wouldn't have met that girl, or I wouldn't have
Mm.
changed career, or wouldn't have thought of something that made me a better person. It's mostly these, shiny, um, usually related to alcohol moments.
Yeah.
It's never about the dark side of our lives. Like,
No.
why don't we think of a friend like, yeah, he really lifted me when I needed. So,
Yeah.
like, I have a couple of friends in that category, and I'm very thankful for that. But the
Uh-huh.
majority, it's about the party, the event, the weekend away. It's about the, let's say, the best parts of life. And maybe if we can look back and recall, if we can, I think if we can count with one hand, like I don't know, 3 or 4 friends that gave us a hand when we really need, then I think we are surrounded by the right people. Like if you have that, like there's someone watching us and they can think of, even if it's two, I would be already pleased.
Yeah, 100%. And but again, and I would 100% agree with you. It's probably a good exercise to take in. But again, because we're so tuned into this kind of, always, friendship is about good things, and which is nothing wrong with that. That's
Yes.
absolutely what it should be. But because we're so tuned into that, we tend to tune out the other bad things or things that happened. I had an interesting conversation at a wedding a couple of months ago with a guy, and I was asking him, how does he know the groom, right? And he says, well, actually, to be honest with you, I was in a really bad space in my life. I was in a
Mm.
really bad space in my life. And I had gotten to know the groom just recently. And I don't know why, but I, in the end, shared with the groom where I was at. And even though I only had known him for a little while, and he said his reaction meant that I had a friend for life. And I was shocked at how open he was about where he had been in his life at that stage. Do you know what I mean? And he was like,
Mm.
he stood by me through thick and thin in the worst year of my life. And he said, I'd not known him very long, but he stuck by me. And he said, that is why I'm here today, because he is a friend for life. And I was shocked that he was so open about it, one. And also, I was glad for my friend that I was like, well, dude, I'm delighted. My friend was the groom,
Mm.
that he could be there for somebody, if you get me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that's heavy. But we need to be able to do that more. Just exactly that. To go, yeah, I was in a bad place. Things were bad. Things were messed up. You know, I have a friend. We've been friends all our life, pretty much. But and that friend went through a seriously bad time a number of years ago, and I won't go into the details of it because it's not right.
Sure.
But he came to me and said, now he's a great friend, and he always has been, but he was like, I'm in trouble here. I'm in heavy stuff. And I took him into my house. He had nowhere to live at that time. I took him into my house for a couple of months and you know, sort of minded him, if you know what I mean. But he will still say to me, that was one of the coolest things anybody ever did. You know, now I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, not at all, because I would do that for him because he's a good friend of mine. And I know he would do it for me. And I know there's a couple of other friends who would do it for me if I was in that situation as well. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet of, you know, whatever. But he still says now, 30 years later, that was an amazing thing. And also it was a very much like, basically, I'm still here because of that, you know, just heavy stuff, but we need to look out for each other. We need to watch out for each other, and we need to watch out for the people as well who are not good communicators, who are quiet, who are shy, who are not, you know, open about stuff in our friend group or in our colleague group, whatever. Because those are the guys who might need it as well, you know.
Yeah, I think there are two types. There's one you just described, that they are not able to verbalize what they are facing because it's too much, or they rather keep it quiet. So there are people who are, you know, by default, let's say, shy or timid, and if things are going wrong, then it's a burden that they cannot carry, let alone share. So that's one type. The other is, I think, some people are very good at masking it. So they will brag, they will just make it pink, just that you won't think that there's something wrong, you know, in their lives. That's why they talk too much. So they will come that, yeah, I'm thriving in my profession, you know, I'm traveling here and there, you know, I met this person and the other, don't know, let's say they're single, I have a queue of women waiting for me. And there is also this kind of profile that all they want is to build a wall around them because they don't want to be seen as weak. Which and like to your point, that man, I totally agree. Like it's a brave act to say things are not well with me. It's much. I mean, it takes a lot more courage, you know, than to be quiet about it. You know, if you have have that strength to say, okay, here is what I'm going through. I'm not really happy about it, and I'm able to share it with you because I trust you. And you know, it might be, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but it might be something that you won't feel very comfortable. But you know, you have to, because the fact that you share, like the benefits of sharing, will outweigh the downsides of keeping that to yourself. So you must put it out there and be ready for the feedback. And it's also tricky for the friend, because sometimes you need to say things that you're not very prepared to, but they are necessary. So you'd rather say, look, there are a couple of things there that they are not your fault, so you just need to deal with them, because for the time being, let's say you need to stay on that job. Let's say it's a work situation. So you say, you are on that job, you need that job. I know your boss is an ass, but perhaps you can tackle things different, because let's say you've been taking things personally, and there are other ways to handle it. So I think it's this capacity to have hard conversations that will make two guys friends, because it's very easy, going back to that, to talk positive things all the time.
It is, and that's something that you just made me think of, which I think is really important. Right, we have this kind of perception of success, right, in society in general, but amongst men in particular. And success is driving a big car, having a big wage, having a salary, having a big house. I don't know what. It's a lot of material things. Being the best at, I don't know, lifting weights, being the best at. We always have to try and be the best at stuff.
Yes.
Oh, I've got a fucking, I don't know what, I've got I can lift 500 kilos. Yeah, I'm gonna, and we have this thing, and we have to, and that has to be doing in our mental health kind of thing as well. I'm fine. I'm good, me. I'm all good. And like you said, there's people who build this whole thing of success being, like, oh, if I even let in a little glimpse into what's really going on, I'm in trouble, But that wall can crumble down very fast, like. And it's, in my terminology, success is not all having material and all those things. It's being happy. End of story. And if you're happy and you're healthy, you're good.
It's
and
an
if you're
achievement.
not,
No,
you have
it's
to
an
do something
achievement to
about it.
be happy and healthy is an achievement. I have James here, who was my first guest when I started this series. He's just saying success can be just getting out of bed, cleaning our teeth, and just facing the day. Absolutely, because there are many people out there who are not able to fulfill these 3 steps that they seem basic. And
Yeah, 100%, James. I couldn't agree with you more. And sometimes we have to level the playing field. We have to bring down the standards that we have of success. And sometimes if you're not in a good way, well, then you're right. It's getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, putting your socks on. That can be a success. And you know what? Fair enough. If that's where you're at,
Let me go back to the first topic we discussed here, this weekend mood. But I wanna focus on Saturday morning. There was a time I was, well, there were a few times in my life that I was unemployed, but there was one that was pretty bad. I ended up going back to my parents' place, stayed there for 3-4 months. Not because there's anything wrong about living with my parents. We have a beautiful relationship, but you just don't want to after moved out. No, it's not like if I would go back there because I wanted to, no problem. Just I have to because financially was the best decision back then. And I remember that so I was basically from Monday to Friday sending CVs, and sometimes even on the weekend. That's all I was doing because I was desperate to get a job. And guess what? The most difficult time of the week was Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Because there was no opportunity, there was no hope. Like I could send 100 CVs that day. The chances that someone would get back to me would be, I don't know, not even 1%. I know that things have changed a little bit now with smartphones and like recruiters are checking their emails, so there is a bit more of response on Saturdays, but not a huge difference comparing to those days. I'm referring maybe to year, I don't know, 2015, 2016. So most people are not looking at their company phones on Saturday morning. And I felt awful, like waking up on a Saturday morning was like waking up on with a hangover, and you didn't even enjoy the night before, and all you want is go back to sleep. It was awful. And the contrast was Sunday evening. Okay, I'm the hope is just around the corner. From tomorrow morning, I may be able to fix my life. So I was living. I was like living upside down. Like most of my friends were okay. Monday, Friday, here's the weekend. Let's enjoy. Sunday evening, they were semi-depressed, and my mood was the opposite. So, and which also impacted the socials, because you want to be more or less in sync with your circle of friends. Of course, I mean, the majority understood that I was in a different life path, but it was awkward because like I would wake up on Saturday morning, and I'm like, what am I waking up for if nothing will change until Monday? And even Monday morning, there won't be any miracle. There could be a ray of hope saying, yeah, your CV is good. We'll set up an interview with you. I don't know, Thursday, Friday. That was it. But just the fact that I could get a tiny interest on Monday morning would bring me so much light that I think I would be happy for the day.
Mhm. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, I do think that was clearly because you had your purpose was mapped out for the whole week, and your kind of schedule was mapped out, and you were probably kind of tackling it a little bit like a 9 to 5
Mm.
job.
Yes.
And then at the weekend, that was gone, and it was like, ooh, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
But like, imagine being somebody who's dealing with stuff, and every day is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see what our commentator is saying. We need to love, respect, and support everyone. Everyone needs support and a shoulder. Much love to you both. Thank you. I think that's the thing. We need to break this pattern of not supporting one another, and we need to break the pattern that we are on our own, because actually when you break it down, you're not, but you just think you are, and you think that you can't talk about certain things. Well, you need to be able to talk about certain things, and you'll find the people that you need to talk to, but you need to be brave enough, courageous enough, and just say, I need help. That's it. I went through a very bad period in my life at the beginning of COVID. I had just lost my father and my daughter in a very quick succession. So it was an extremely tough time. We were in COVID. We were in a very weird, nightmarish scenario. You couldn't see people. You couldn't talk to people. You could video call them. You could Zoom them, but that's not. And I think it was probably one of the hardest phases in my life. Actually, I can say without doubt it was. And I remember specifically going, I need help. I actually need help. I am not going to survive this. This is going to break me. And the very fact that I said that, to start that off, that was the first step for me. I was like, right, I've now decided I need help. Now I need to go and find help. Now, luckily in COVID, there was, an exception to all the rules, was the counseling rule, luckily. And I found somebody, and I went to speak to them. And I spoke to them on the phone, or I spoke to them in the office, because I could go and meet them. And that was amazing in terms of but I'm very lucky, I'm blessed. I could actually formulate and word the I need help thing, and I could find it. There's many men out there who are not, able to say that I need help. And we need to be more open to that. We absolutely need to be more open to that, and to say, I'm not strong. I'm in a very not strong situation. I'm very weak at the moment. I'm very sad. I'm affected by an illness. I am whatever it is. But we need to open up, and we need to open up on the other side, because we need to be the ones who are able to listen to guys, or to see somebody's in trouble. Don't run away from it. Don't walk away from it. If he's a friend, if he's a colleague, if he's a bloke that you know from, I don't know, football or whatever, and you're in your head going, there's something not right here, he's not himself. Well, then you need to be brave, and you need to go, how are you, man? And you need to ask it with that candidity of, how are you? Like, really, how are you? Not, how was the football? Do you know what I mean? It's, yeah. And that's the basic thing. Like our commentator said just there now, we all need support. We all need help. But we need support and help from ourselves first. If you cannot see that you have a problem, and you cannot verbalize that you have a problem, then you've got a way bigger problem than that problem. Because an internalized problem is a way bigger issue. because it starts to affect your physical health, your mental health.
Yes.
It starts to affect your relationships. It starts to affect everything around you. And verbalizing it and saying, I need help, starts to help, weirdly enough,
Yeah, that's the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just tell folks that are watching, as I set up a goal for today, because now I have the super chat available. So if I get my first super chat today, the first time that the super chats are available, so to be a great beginning. Talking of starting points, what I'll do, if you guys get me a super chat today, I'll do my first ever live outdoors. Can be my local park, my local beach. If someone wants to support this podcast with a live chat, I promised I would do a live from maybe the seafront or the park. And I have to pick based on weather, but I promise I do a live from outdoor and about this topic, about mental health. I think because there is 1.5 hours says it's not enough. So here is the incentive for people. Jeroen, what do you think is the difference between self-pity and vulnerability?
So for me, there's a big difference. Vulnerability is being open to somebody. And in my eyes, vulnerability is quite a strong thing to be, to expose your emotions or to open your emotions to another and to feel vulnerable. But self-pity is the, wallowing in the, the things are so bad for me, or, like, I wish the world was an easier place, whatever. That's a difference. So vulnerability is, to me, strong, and especially in men. It is not what it has been conceived of before, which is weakness, and you're a weak man, and you're not, or you're not even a man. All this kind of absolute codswallop. But self-pity is realizing that there's a problem, but not really doing anything about it, but just sort of going, oh, poor me, and sometimes self-pity, that's, it sort of defeats the purpose as well. It's a very, it's internalizing stuff, and, oh, woe is me, poor me. Well, do something about it.
Yeah, this victim mentality. I just want to thank James. That's it. I would do it, and I have to prepare my first outdoor lives. Thank you very much, James. That's it. I asked, I got it. So I need to prepare my scarf, my hat, because it's quite cold. But I will face the weather, no problem. So here is the promise. Next week or two, there will be a special live here in Bray, perhaps the local park or the seafront. I will pick the best place depending on weather, and there'll be a live on mental health. So thank you very much, James, and hope you are doing well. By the way, if someone is interested in my chat with James, I can put the link in the description. It was very, very powerful. We spoke about similar topics. James also has an interesting story when it comes to these subjects. So what I'm going to do was mostly about how to find peace of mind. I'm going to put here in the comments that people can watch it maybe sometime in the next few days, and check out the Movember playlist. Jeroen, the other one I want to go through is something you highlighted before we went live, is suicide. Suicide is it's a very heavy topic in this part of the road where you are in the UK and Ireland. According to some stats, it's the main killer for lads under 50. Like, you would think that it's alcohol, you would think that it's some other thing, but not suicide. Especially because, like, things in UK and Ireland, they are relatively peaceful. We are not at war. We are nowhere near, let's say, the main conflicts happening now in Europe and in the Middle East. the economy, it's not Japan or or Singapore, but I think we cannot complain. So there's no shortage of employment opportunities. So I wonder, why is that? Like, did you ever come across a motive for this to be a serious problem here?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying that I grew up in a small village in the west of Ireland, and between my 18th and probably my 30th birthday, I lost 10 friends to suicide, right? This is a small village, a very small village, right?
Wow.
Now, some of those friends were close to me, like really close to me, and some were not so close, but in my circle, right? 10 friends, 10 male friends. And this is a huge, huge, huge issue. In Ireland, especially, I'm not sure about other places, but in Ireland, it's massive. We have a massive problem with suicide. And I think that there's like a lot of these things, these are complicated facts, complicated issues. There's not one motive, there's not one thing behind it, but some of it comes down to men not being able to deal with the society they're in. They don't quite fit in, maybe. They don't feel like they have a part to play in society. In rural Ireland, less so, but in rural Ireland, it was expected that, the eldest son or a son would take over the farm. Well, maybe the eldest son didn't want to take over the farm and wanted to go to college and whatever. The lack of social contact, so there's loads of reasons for it, but it is a huge problem. And I believe that a lot of it comes down to, again, men being incapable of talking about stuff, being open about stuff, and actually looking for those supports that are needed. And there, if you look for them, but it's that incapability of accepting an issue yourself and an incapability of talking about it. I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons, but there's many others. And, we can't look at it as a one sort of solution problem. There's many, many, many factors in it. But I really think that, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. It leaves people in a really, really messy situation. And the people who are gone, they're gone. They don't realize how it has affected families. It has affected their friends. It has affected the social fabric of the place they live in. It's an absolute and it's such, I always see it. Sorry, I'm actually going to get a bit emotional about it just because these were good friends of mine, but I always see it as such a waste. It's such a waste. It's so, why didn't you talk to me, man? Why didn't you tell me that you were in trouble? Whatever. Why couldn't you? And then there was a certain feeling of guilt as well. Why was I not there for that person, man?
Yes.
Why did I not see that they were in so much trouble that they ended up taking their own lives, man? Like, how bad must things be if you're going to go in that road? Like, so why could they not reach out? And I do think that part of it is this inability to communicate and be open and be honest and be, as we were just talking about, vulnerable and allow others into the situation, And it is... I would say it is yes, I don't even have to see figures for it. I know it's the biggest killer of young men especially. And, it's not, but it always seems to be, it's a majority a male issue, again, because we don't feel like we can talk about stuff. We think that there's only one way out. There's never only one way out. There has to be other ways. There has to be things that you can do. There has to be friends you can find. There has to be help you can find. But you need to admit it yourself first. To yourself, I am struggling here, and that's sometimes the biggest battle. But it is an absolute, I would say that is a real pandemic, right?
Mm.
Not COVID, not other things. That is a massive pandemic, and it has affected everyone in Ireland in some shape or form, and that is definitely the biggest killer of people under 50 and over 52. I've heard recently of people who are in their 60s, 65, whatever, and they just don't see a way out, and they're dealing with stuff, and they go down that road, and it's terribly, terribly sad. It's just wowzers, and it's almost exclusively a male problem, again.
Yeah.
Down to those reasons that we've been talking about: inability to talk, inability to find someone who can listen, inability to say, I have an issue, I need help. All of those things, mixed with many other things. There may be addiction, there may be drugs, there may be alcohol, there may be, you name it, there's a whole gamut of reasons. But I always think that it is not a solution. It isn't. And there is a way out, and we just have to be brave enough to face it. I'm very lucky. There's a lot of people who, if you ask them, and if you were honest about it, they probably would say that it's been on their mind sometime in their life. And I'm lucky that that's never really been the case. But I can guarantee you, there's a lot of blokes out there who, have been there at some point,
Yeah.
But
there's no shame. There's no shame, because yes, if someone says that, I'm not feeling okay, it has been the case for, I don't know, a few months or even a year, or even more. But the fact that you share that the current situation is not great, it doesn't mean that your whole life is shit. It's not synonymous. But people are hesitant. People are men in this case to share negative feedback from their own lives, because they believe that others are going to read it. This guy is just a loser. No, maybe you are just going through a phase that it's not positive. We all fall into that. At some stage in our life, some people they have it in their childhood. Some people say during their adult lives. Others in later stages, and none of us is immune, and there's nothing wrong about it. That's just how life is. It's life is not only made of sweet spots. There are some there's some bitterness on the way, and we should be natural about it. There's no embarrassment to say, what, for the last a couple of months things are not going my way. I need to do something about it, because if it continues like that, probably I don't know the way out. Just be honest. And if you say that, you're not saying that your whole life has been miserable. If you look back, you're not proud of what you did. Let's say, I don't know, in the early 2000s, just happened that, let's say, since I don't know, since the summer, things are not just the way you wish, and that's it. And that piece of life, it's often not even representative of your whole life. It's just a chapter, and we all have that chapter that we are not very comfortable about. That's it. We all have that period that, this was not my best period. It's okay, but the one thing we need to be able to separate, because I know men, and actually even in my family, if things go wrong, they start to think that the way they conduct themselves since they remember being around, since an early age, was not the most appropriate, and that's why they are where they are. No, this sometimes it's just an isolated situation. So don't take that context as your whole existence. Sometimes there is no motivation. Well, there could be a case that you are in that circumstance because you made a wrong decision. Fine, but the wrong decision doesn't mean that you had a wrong wife, that you didn't do anything out of your life. No, it's just step back, try to see what's going on with some distance, and often you realize that this is just a chapter. I need to get over it, and then I will be back on track sooner or later. And enough with drama, just enough with drama.
Yeah, and I would add to that you have to accept it. As in, we are brilliant. Men are brilliant at not accepting what's right in front of our eyes as the truth. We're fantastic at it. But
Yes.
the first step is that you have to accept that you're not in the best place. And if you can accept it to yourself, then you can start to step outside of that. And then you can go, well, now I've accepted it to myself, and now I need to do something about it. And I need to get help. But accepting it yourself and saying, right, I have an issue here, whatever it is. Now I need to go and sort it. And actually, sometimes even the act of accepting that in yourself is already the first big step taken to getting out of that situation and finding, solutions.
Do you recognize any signs on suicidal individuals, that like some patterns that you'll be able to share, and maybe they can help people that are watching us, nothing about themselves, but maybe they can identify that on their own circle of friends? Is there any symptoms, visual symptoms?
Well, there's a funny thing there, Vitor, because you deal with two types of people. When I've looked back at some of the situations that I've dealt with, some people's behavior changes, and it changes in small ways, but they're more internalized, they're less communicative, they're less sociable, they lock themselves away. There may not be big changes, and generally they're not big changes, but they are changes. And if you look, you will see. Some people are almost so well masked and hidden that you don't see anything at all. And that's almost more shocking, But there are some definitely things where you see a change in the person's social behavior. They may become more reclusive. They may become more kind of, they used to be more sociable. They used to, I don't know, go into the village on a Friday or whatever it is. You used to see them, but now you don't see them anymore. So that's a start. And then, they're not communicating so much anymore. They'll probably go more introspective. They will become quieter about stuff, not as, chatty, even to coin a phrase, about things. And one thing that I have noticed is that you often notice that these people will start making excuses for why those behaviors are happening, right? So they'll say, oh, I don't know, whatever. There's an excuse. So if you start to see a pattern of kind of excuses, or you start to see a change, and it's usually, in my estimation, it's usually a fairly subtle change, but it can be a conglomeration of subtle changes. If you started to see that, then you do need to ask questions. And this is another one that we need to just break that taboo. We need to, our friends, the people who are in our circle, if you're seeing someone struggle, don't walk away, or be not brave enough to go, "You all right, man? Do you want to chat about it, or do you what's going on?" ask the question. But we often would rather not. Oh, that's going to be an awkward question. Oh, Jesus, this is, or it could be dark. Oh, yeah, it could be dark. It could be very dark, but I can guarantee you it's much more dark for that person who's suffering. So ask the goddamn question and just make sure that somebody's okay. And you know what? Even the fact that somebody reaches out to a person who's in real trouble, that can make a big difference to them. That, you made an effort and you saw that there was an issue and you went to try and find out what it was or help or whatever it is. But we just need to be open about it. We need to be very much more open as receivers and as givers of that information. And we need to look out for people. End the story and check in and go, man, I've seen, even down to something like, like a massive, I don't know, weight loss or a massive weight gain, for example, right? That's not right. We need to look at signs, and the signs that I'm talking about are subtle. So you need to keep your eyes out for it, but you need to look for signs, and you need to not be afraid to go up to somebody who's in your circle and go, "Are you okay? Are you all right? What's going on? You're changed. You have this, that, and the other, but we need to be brave to do that, and we are not, and we tend to avoid it. Oh my God, we will avoid it like the plague. But you're talking about somebody who could really be in a mess if you don't. So you need to get with it and get brave, and look for the issues. Because nobody is going to go through life like in all sweetness and light all the time. It's just not happening, But we need to watch out for the people who are in whatever situation, struggling,
I can think of like two behaviors that I think they manifest that very, very worrying signs. Like, one is when the person is incapable to laugh. Let's say you're in a group of friends and they are not able to laugh at the jokes they used to. Okay, or maybe they laugh, but let's say their laugh is very brief,
or fake,
or fake. Exactly, or fake. Yes. So let's say they laugh, but the laugh lasts, I don't know, 5 seconds. So they're not laughing. They are laughing because others are laughing, which is very different from laughing genuinely, as we know. They just don't want to feel awkward, so they go with the group, but they are not really enjoying the joke. And you can, as you said, like, if it's fake and your friend well, you will notice at least after 2 or 3 jokes, if not at the first. And the other thing is, and I know we are all different. There are people who have more initiative than others, people who like to suggest ideas or come up with plans or projects and propose things that you want to do with your mates together. But if someone starts not to propose any ideas to spend time together, they don't have any suggestion, they are not really saying, okay, I think this Friday we should go to that bar because I heard that the music is great, or we should go to the beach because it's the best place to surf, or if one of the friends says, okay, this is the plan for the weekend, are you in? They will say yes, but they will say yes, say, after the others confirm. They will never be one of the first acknowledging that it's a good plan or showing some enthusiasm. Like, when the person has no energy, whether it's about funny comments, or they are incapable to propose anything that will keep the group together, I think it's a sign that they are losing energy. Their stamina is nearly zero. So things are very, very wrong. And if you don't have perspective, don't have any prospects for the future, that's the time that perhaps suicide starts to be an option, because if there's nothing to look forward, perhaps it's better to put a close in this whole story.
100%. And at the end of the day, in my eyes, it's never an option. It's never a solution. It doesn't solve anything. It just is a waste. And I know that sounds pretty harsh, but there's always a way of finding a solution if you talk about it. Even if it's the toughest thing that you've ever dealt with in your life, there's still a way of doing it if you admit it to yourself and you start to talk about it. And you might find yourself in a totally different situation in a year's time, but that is not a solution in any shape or form,
Yeah.
And it only complicates things even more.
Yes.
And leaves just a bigger mess, and it's a horrendous thing. It really is. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. In Portugal, I don't know if another language, there is a saying that it's that is similar or has the same meaning. But in Portuguese, we have the saying that it's very, very simple and straightforward. That there is a solution for everything except for death. I don't know if others say the same, but it's very true. And we mention when we are facing something that seems quite complicated, say at work, oh, I mess up with Excel. You know how much I like Excel. So it's like, what do I do with that? And if you're in Portugal, someone will say, there's a solution for everything except with death. And it's right. You can ask a friend to help you with Excel. These days you can throw it on ChatGPT. You can just I don't know, find another job that it's not Excel related because that job is not for you. Maybe the solution is not there in the moment. Maybe the solution will come in a month or two, but there is a solution. There is it's not a one-way journey like suicide. Suicide is the only thing that you cannot do twice. You can do everything else in life, a few times. Suicide, no. Once it's done, it's done. There's no way back. And that's why I was watching a Jordan Peterson clip on suicide, and he said that often suicide is regarded as a crime, in the fact that you are damaging your family and friends' life for the rest of their time. That's it. They will never recover. So yes, you take your life away, but you also damage the people around you in a way that most of them will never recover. They will never recover because they will never be the same. So as you just said, is it an option? Probably not, because the mess you leave around, probably it's not worth, if you think about the suffering that suicide involves for the people that stay.
And it doesn't offer a solution. So it's not a solution to the problems you're facing. It's just not. It doesn't offer a solution. It's just a mess, a waste. It's a terrible place to be. And I do really feel strongly about the fact that men need to reach out to other men and to be open and to be vulnerable, as we spoke about earlier on, and to be like, are you okay? And maybe we'll have to share something of our own as well. Maybe we have to kind of go, man, I have days when I'm not okay, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But we need to do it because men are suffering and men are in trouble. And it's not just men, but women are way, way, way better at discussing things. They are very good at it. They are able to find a group of friends, or they go and do something together, or whatever it is. And they just have a tendency to be able to be more open and to actually say, I am not okay, right? We are not good at that. We have to be okay all the time. And that's complete crap, because you can't be okay all the time. but we are so bad at it. And women are very good at vocalizing things. They're much better at dealing with emotional subjects. They're much better at dealing. We're not. We're not good at it. But we need to get better at it, because if we don't get better at it, we are in serious trouble. And there's a lot of guys out there who are in serious trouble, and we need to be open to that. We need to have our eyes open for those people and try to make sure that we do something to help them get out of this mess, whatever it is.
Let me just share, because I almost forgot, because these topics are so heavy that your mind cannot really think of other things outside of what we are discussing. I just put on the link my Movember campaign. So if someone is willing to send a few bob, that will be great. Every bit of contribution helps. It's all about raising awareness, trying to have that conversation that can save lives. So if you can provide your assistance to Movember Ireland, I'll be very, very thankful. And the link is there. So I'll be extremely delighted if you guys could support us with your contribution. You're talking about so was my train of thought. These topics are not the easiest one. We're talking about suicide, and one thing that I had in mind in this podcast, it won't be this Movember series, but I want to talk to everyone. I don't have the time, but there are two profiles that I'm very, very keen to bring in. One is, they are similar. People who faced near-death experiences. Okay, so I'll be very keen to have chat with, let's say, people who were in coma, people who had a massive car accident and they were nearly crossing the rainbow. So I'll be very keen to see, what were the sentiments when you felt that you were 1 inch away to be gone, and it wasn't your decision. Okay, so and that's what I'm going to the second one. I'll be fascinated to talk to people who attempt suicide, but they survived, because I have I don't have I don't have figures, I don't have numbers to support my statement, but I'll be inclined to think that the majority, they regret when they were in that limbo between surviving or dying. I think a good few thought, well, maybe that was not the right decision. I hope the doctors can still save my life. My job is not that bad. I have that bunch of friends. Maybe I should just open up at home. So I'll be very, very interested to sitting with people who were that near to be gone, because that's one of those extreme. I think it's one of those experiences that you can only speak properly if you experience yourself. It's not like, okay,
Great.
I was at Aviv and I'm going to talk about the Ironman game with Hungary. Okay, we all watch it on television, so we can say something about it, no? But being that near the end of life, you can only talk with some credibility if it's something that you face it.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. It would be also a very, very different perspective, because it's not, like you said, it's not something we've all faced. And also it'd be interesting to know kind of where the thought process is at that point, and what is it. Luckily, most of us haven't faced that, but it's probably a very interesting train of thought around those kind of occurrences.
Yeah, I had a group chat about life after death. So we were just discussing. But no, it was not an empirical conversation. It was more about our perspectives of the afterlife, or if are we believers, or we are skeptical about heaven or a similar place. That was interesting. I'm happy to bring back those topics because I think if these are the themes that once you take them in consideration seriously, to impact every single aspect of your life. Like you won't be the same. Like I think the moment that we integrate mortality in your existence, you won't be the same. You won't be the same person going to bed and waking up the day after because you realize that the clock is ticking and there is nothing you can do about it. Perhaps or perhaps there is, because you can transform the way you approach yourself, the others, and life as such.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's an interesting conversation, and definitely everybody believes something different about it, and nobody really knows as well. So it's very, but I mean, to me, my personal opinion is life is short, live it, end of, but don't live it in the dark. As a man, as a woman, as a person, don't be consumed by issues. Be open, and if something is at you or something's bothering you, do something about it and talk about it. But life is short, and live it in the best possible way that you can. And don't live it in the dark. And I mean in the dark of an illness, an addiction, something that's controlling you, whatever. Do not live like that, because that's a waste of life. You need to live and to enjoy it. And we don't know when the day is going to come, but the day will come. But don't live it in the dark, and don't live it on your own. I mean, on your own, you can be on your own, but I'm talking about, guys, if you're dealing with stuff, reach out to people, be open, be vulnerable, be just, it's not weak at all. Very, very far from it. And that's the myth I really want to destroy, is that it's weak to be open about things. I think that's the worst thing that we have, and we have it very badly as men, but it is a myth, and it's got to be destroyed. It's a sign of strength. If you can open up about things, it's a sign of real inner strength. Don't be in the dark, just reach out. That's it,
Yeah, I noticed that the days that I'm not okay. Let's say I'm by myself at home, which I mean, I say my girlfriend is traveling and I'm here for a week, which is not a problem. But let's say I have one of those days, one of those dark days, and I'm by myself. I noticed that one of the things I do is I don't switch on the light. So it's starting to get dark. Let's say it's 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening, and I don't switch on the light because I don't want to see the position I'm in. So I try to hide myself from myself. And one of the techniques or tricks is make sure that the room is dark, that I'm not really seeing what's going on. And that's a terrible thing. Like if you are not able to see what's going on, if you are trying to blind yourself, that's a red flag. Well, let's say if let's say you are able to record what you are doing, okay, would you be proud watching the day after? If you wouldn't, think twice. Think twice. Just think that you are somehow being recorded and you'll be forced to watch it tomorrow. Would you insist doing what you are doing now, or would you rather, I don't know, go out and get some fresh air or just ring a friend or get your work done instead of doing something silly or stupid? Just think about it, that you'll be able to see it through a camera, the silly and stupid thing you are engaged with. And if you insist on that, and that is damaging damaging you, and you know it. It's time to stop. And that's how addiction starts, because you do it once, you do it twice, you get used to, and it starts to be a way. I think people sometimes engage with certain activities just because it will distract them from their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And often they choose things that don't serve them. They're just accessible, and
Mm.
we all know addictions like drugs, alcohol. They really fall under this category. I don't want to stay on my head, so what do? I drink, and it's fun. It works on the short run, so why not go that route? But if
Mm.
you'll be able to watch day after, the amount of alcohol you consume, and you know the consequences that will um, impact your life, you probably say, never again. It was a one-off. It was a mistake. I'm
Yeah.
learning from it. I'm not going to repeat it. I was just, I was just not in the right headspace. So think of seeing what are you doing through like a third eye, and
Mm.
or the other exercise I do is, if I'm doing something that I know it's not positive, I try to think that, and I'm unsure whether I can stop myself um, right away. I try to think that it's happening with one of my best friends, and how would I approach it? Let's say if a good friend of mine is doing something that I think it's not serving him, how
Mm.
would I raise it?
Mm.
How would I bring him to attention? So I try to detach myself from what's happening with me, try to project that it's happening with a friend, and what sort of advice would I provide my friend with. And
Mhm.
because it's not personal anymore, then often I'm able to say, no, this is not something that I should get busy with. Let's move on and find a proper, if I wouldn't say distraction, but a proper replacement, because you cannot just get rid of bad habits. You need to find something to fill the gap, because people think, yeah, I will stop drinking from tomorrow, that's it. No, you probably need to start, I don't know, go for walks, or uh, start I don't know, some gardening, something that will occupy the time you used to spend drinking. You cannot just
Mm.
set it aside and then have that empty space in the calendar. There must be something that will fill that cup. Otherwise, chances are that you'll go back and it won't be pretty.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, look, the thing about it is that you have the power to change absolutely everything, right? Everything. You don't often admit to yourself that you can, but you can change everything. So every situation you're in, you can find a solution for it and you can change it. The problem is when you can't see a way out, it literally is that you can't see a way out. But if you allow yourself to think about it, you will find a way of finding a solution for it, you know. And I'm not sort of poo-pooing it, but I'm just sort of saying that every situation in life it's possible to change it and to make it more positive. You know, there isn't one that you cannot change. You can make something more positive. It is possible to do it, but you need to be brave to do that as well. You need to kind of look at the issue and see, okay, well, where are the solutions, and find them. And I do realize as well that certain people are limited by that, by possibly depression or possibly,
Mm.
an actual mental illness. And but even in those situations, there is a way. There is a way, but you have to admit that you have an issue, and you have to be prepared to get help. That's
Yeah.
it. You
And
know.
then I think remind yourself of what I call the basics. And I don't think I'm being romantic with this statement, but if you have a healthy relationship at home with your spouse or a girlfriend, you are in a very good situation. If you are healthy, you
Hmm.
must you must feel blessed about it. You have friends with whom you can hang out and be open. Uh, well, you are a privilege. You have a purpose in life, so there is something that will ignite you. Okay, and you have a place to live, and you won't be kicked out from one day to another. And let's say I will add one more. Maybe you have a profession that you are happy with, so you like what you do, and your financials are in order. It's not a big ask if you have these 6 things, but they are so vital that if one of them is gone, you can collapse.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Even one, if one is missing, like you can have this whole 6. I'm not going to one by one, but I'm just name one or two. You have this whole 6, but you are unhealthy, you can collapse.
Yeah.
Or you have the other 5, but you don't have any friends to hang out with, so you're always alone. You are a successful professional. You have a beautiful woman at home with whom you have the greatest relationship ever. Your financials are fine, but you want to spend some time, I'd say, outside of home or outside of your work, and there's no one. You feel bad because you need that as well, or
Yeah, you do.
you cannot have a relationship because you are just not able to commit, or you're not able um, to handle someone on the long term, or people not able to handle you on the long term because you are not, let's say, what's the word? You are not consistent. Then you have an issue. So those 6 things, if you have them, like be blessed.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. And actually, I think that we have to be more happy with basics. So, health, happiness, you got a roof over your head, you've got some sort of purpose, like you said. But all those basics they are basics. And if you have them, you have to basically count your blessings and kind of go, do you know what? I'm doing okay. And actually, this is the thing, right? I know we're talking about not being okay, but it's also okay to be okay. It's actually a good thing to be able to go, I'm okay. That's all. I'm okay. There doesn't need to be, I'm amazing, I'm this, I'm that. But it's in both things, it's really important. It's important to go, I am not okay. And I am okay is all right as well. Because I think that sometimes, like I said, we have to have, I don't know, more money. We have to have more, I don't know what. When it comes
Prestige,
down to it,
yeah.
it's very basic stuff that we need. And if we have it, we need to see it and realize that with that basic stuff, we're actually good.
Yeah, and there's one thing that we don't need for sure: validation. Forget about external validation. That's useless. You don't need that. You don't need you may want acknowledgement, some degree of recognition. That's fine, but that's very different from validation. Because let's say you are doing well, but there are some nasty people out there who are not able um, to acknowledge that's not your issue. That's not your
Yeah.
issue, because you are good with yourself. You are on track. You don't need to have that applause. Like, you want to feel that your friends are able to say, yeah, I can see that you are orientating yourself in the right way, and that really serves you and suits your personality, your type. Well done. That's it. But you don't need that validation to be put on a pedestal or anything like that. Actually, being put on a pedestal, I think it's very dangerous. But that will be
Very dangerous.
another hour.
But also, I think the only validation you really need is yourself.
Yeah.
And you need to be happy in yourself, and happy and but in yourself. I'm happy. I'm good. That's all.
Yeah,
You know?
that will be another topic. It should be self-talk. We can have, we could do another hour on self-talk.
We could talk about that for a week. Don't mind an hour.
Yeah, the
But
whole Movember. Yeah,
yeah, I do think, and I like the concept of Movember. I don't have a mustache like you, Vitor. But I like the concept of Movember. I think it's really cool. It's very important. It's important to me, and I do think that as men, There are men out there who are in trouble. Look out for them, and be open to them to say, I'm not having a good day. It's not a competition. I am having a worse day than you. No,
Yeah.
whatever it needs to help other guys in trouble, go out and do it and be brave about it, and just, are you okay? I am not okay. I am not good. I am not whatever. Those few words can mean a lot,
Yeah.
And that's it. At the end of the day, it's very simple. But there are guys out there in trouble, and we need to look out for them.
And once you are able to assume, admit to yourself, everything is easier, because you have this degree of self-awareness that will make your life way more simple. So you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what you are facing, what sorts of demons, monsters, dragons. So you are already halfway through, to improve your life in the right direction. So, and then it's like an exercise. Like the more you repeat it, the more of a habit it is, and it's a good habit, because you at some point you will excel at doing it, because you perform it so often that it's just another daily task. So there is this whole thing, first, second time, how I'm going to do it. Yeah, you'll be unsure, but it's like everything else in life. The first two attempts are usually an experiment, but after a while they just start to be more and more normal.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to look after yourself first. Be okay with yourself first. Be good in yourself first. You don't need to be good. You need to admit when you're not good, and then simply reach out to other people who you feel are not good, and you'll feel it. If you open your eyes to it, you will feel it. You'll know it. And that person might appreciate it a lot, and will respect the fact that you were brave enough to go, are you all right? As opposed to saying, God, Liverpool lost yesterday. Well, do you know what I mean?
Not only Liverpool, Spurs lost today, so and to Arsenal, just to make it more depressing.
But we need to be brave and courageous, and not always talk about the more normal things, and the things, in fact, that are really not that important, but we just enjoy talking about them, because sometimes they're a good shield for whatever's going on inside, But that's it.
So here's the encouragement for people. If they know someone who may be struggling, please reach out. And another way that you can do it, I'm not just encouraging, but because I think this conversation may help. So if you want to share this conversation, maybe you are making your friends a favor. So I'll be very thankful if you can. Also, if you want to help us distribute this content, make sure to press the thumbs up button. You can still add comments. We'll check them offline. If you haven't subscribed, it would be great if you can. And there is a Movember campaign, and I'm part of it. So if you want to help me to spread awareness, it would be great if you can send your contribution. Every share, every euro, every penny makes a difference. Jeroen, thank you very much for another brilliant, powerful chat, and hope I'll see you soon. We have the Witty Week Writers Workshop in 2 weeks' time or something like that, no? 15 December, no? Was it 15? We agreed. Can't remember now.
15 December, if I remember rightly. Yeah, Monday the 15th. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about the topics today. We have Christmas, New Year's, and how is that impacting writers? Faith, God, or lack of faith. There was one more. I need to check my notes. But guys, if you wanna watch it, we also will discuss some philosophical topics on that. But I think the faith, God, it's a huge one. So I'm looking forward for that, and I hope we can have people watching us tonight. They'll be back with us in in December, because I think there's plenty to go through. We have Maria with us, so it's not just myself and Jeroen. If you think the two of us are boring, maybe you'll be happy with Maria's input. So that's what we have in December, and a couple of other things. And I have another challenge. I need to do my first live outdoor. I was not very optimistic about. I didn't expect to receive my first super chat in the first opportunity. But yeah, I will come up with some plan. If you guys want to suggest some topic like within the mental health sphere, don't hesitate. Just put in the comments there, and I will pick one. So I will do it will be a short live because it's outdoor and it's freezing. But I will do my best. I will be I'll do my best to to be warm and come up with interesting ideas. So yeah, have a good evening, guys, and a good week. And I'll talk to you very soon. Take care.
See ya.